Hey guys, I'm going to do a quick shave today. I'm going to use that slurry method I've been doing every once in a while since I discovered it a week or three ago. And it will be with the same gear for August that I've been using. I now did a count and I think I'm about 6 days near the end of August in my 31 days basically of shaving with Midnight Stag. Here is the goal. And it's not as tightly structured as it has to be days of August. And so, but the mindset is Austere August. And so that's what we're going to go with. Chisel Face Midnight Stag is the soap. I have the splash for that as well as the cologne. Timeless Open Comb 68 gap. Stainless steel razor. This is the knurled handle. Very grippy. Semogue Owners Club boar brush with a Taj handle. Got the logo there. This use count number for this time is 468. Brush has been soaking for a good while. I'm going to do that method where I just kind of kiss the soap a little bit and don't work up the lather. I've been thinking about it, and as best as I can guess, somehow there's something about the early stages of bringing the soap and the water together that makes this special. Here's the Nacet. In up here, one down here, Sharpie dot over here, bending the blade down here, the usual hallmarks that identify that blade. Just got to keep using it for another month, and we're at 500, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. Don't need to track with my jigger how much water I'm using since this is really closer to a face lather. I am dying to try with Williams Mug soap this slurry lather method. I haven't thought up a better name than slurry lather because what we're doing here is we're having a really wet brush, not dripping, but almost. Use a little bit of soap, but I think the crucial part is to have a lot of water in the brush, because if you had more of a dry brush or a brush where it's been squeezed out, then there's not enough wetness for that lather, for that soap to really combine. It almost immediately starts to take on the paste kind of attributes, or a early dry lather, where this comes together. It's almost like the soap is exposed to this large amount of water, and it's just kind of hanging out, and there's plenty of water for it to be around, and so it doesn't have to turn into a lather right away. And somehow it combines, and it's almost invisible on my face at first, but then the lather starts to build. And Greg, or Gallant, GC Gallant, he I can't remember what name he goes by in different places. I've been talking to him on Reddit recently, and he has been taking some of his proto lather. He that's what the word he used, that stuff that is on top of the soap puck after you're done loading, and he puts that on his face kind of as a slick layer, he calls it. And he thinks that because that's so wet and so early in the stages of this whole lathering process, that it might be synonymous with what I'm experiencing in my own. And he's also finding that it's just super slick. It came in handy for him because he did the challenge where he had the open comb gem style razor, the Micromatic open comb that uses the single blade. And he said that fairly early on in the month, maybe the 10th, somewhere around there, before the halfway point, he could feel the sharpness not really be there for him anymore for the blade. So what he focused on was his lathering. And then he discovered this slick layer of scooping out some of that early stuff in the soap tub and putting that on first as a wet layer with some soap in it. Gave him much better results as he continued to use the same blade for the rest of the month. Much more comfortable, much more slick. So let us motor on here. Get my face wet. I was watching one of my loads where I was, I think, counting swirls, and it looked like about 10 swirls, and they were kind of slow swirls because I was counting them and making sure I didn't lose count. And so I think we're talking about a 2.5, 3-second load time, but really more along the lines of 2.5 perhaps. It would be less than 3 if I were doing my normal amount of my normal speed, that kind of thing. But what we'll do is we'll stick with the 10 swirls for this method. Again, this is a dripping brush. See, it didn't take too much, but I am going to do my usual thing where I do get rid of some of the water. There's definitely not going to be any dripping at this point. Now, if you press it into things like your face or the soap, it will release some water. And as I'm doing more exaggerated motions, it is releasing a little bit now. So we have plenty of water. Let's introduce it to a little bit of soap. 1, 2, 10. Just 10. Matter of fact, I'm going to save those droplets. I think what happened was the soap broke up the bristles there, which kept the water, was keeping some of the water on hand. And so now, one of the things I do like about this method is it's kind of mysterious. As you saw me start, it just didn't have, the soap was invisible. And then out of nowhere, you can see that this super wet slurry starts to form. Definitely not a mature lather at all, but let's just go with that. I'm just using the bowl here to kind of collect the drippings and hold the brush, that sort of thing. The downside of this method is that you don't get to experience the brush on your face. But the slickness is there, my people. So you know what? I might contact Chiseled Face. After all, this is their soap mixture. They have done so much testing, and he should know about the chemical properties, about what causes this to become a lather, that sort of thing. And so I think that's a great starting point, and I'm going to explain this slurry lather concept, and maybe he can, I think his name's Ron, I think maybe he can educate me a little bit. A little splash of water on my face. Brush feels terrific, very soft. I've always said, even before I came up with this method, that a thin layer is all you need, because your blade is just going to push anything else out of the way when you shave. Cross grain now for the second pass. I did feel some stubble on my face after the first pass, but kind of normal for this blade, as old as it is. Add a little water to my face. And this third pass now. And see, because we are dealing with just a little bit of soap on my face, I don't have those same problems that a contemporary face latherer has, where they build up that cloudy lather on their face, all puffy and big, and then they shave and it's gone down the drain after the first pass, and then you're left with this stuff on your brush that is a more mature lather. Right now, what I have on my brush continues to be that slurry. It's a little bit more mature than that, but it's still a lot of hydration and that soap. And so I'm here at the third pass, and I've got plenty of lather. I've still got, look at all this lather that's still on the brush. There's a lot of face lathers out there who use 2 grams of soap. I'm probably using 0.4 here based on my past experiences with other bases. They're using 4 times as much soap, and they have less lather on their brush after a third pass by far. And just a little bit of splash of water on my face there. So somehow I think there's some difference in slickness, with this soap base. Perhaps you're just not going to be as slick of a lather if you take it to maturation, where you're mixing it with the brush for a while and all that. And it's still a nice lather. It does the job, but this top tier slickness that I'm enjoying right now seems to only be found when I am stopping short, working with the slurry instead of letting it get to a lather. And I've got a very close shave here. Face feels good. A little bit of work on over there, and I can do that. Hit that area with a little, I can even do some tugging. And see, I can feel it. It's a different level of slickness. It's better. It's what I had been wishing that Chiseled Face had for years. The only bad part about it is I just don't get to enjoy the brush and building up the lather quite as much as I normally like to do. I also that luxury feel of creaminess is not as much of a part of this kind of shave. And since there are other soaps that do let me bring it up to a mature lather and still have that creaminess and this kind of slickness, even at that point, I'm going to gravitate more toward those kind of soaps. Well, the actually shaving part was pretty fast, but you never know with me whether I'm going to talk, whether some idea is going to come to mind that I want to share with you guys. Thanks for the conversations we have had over the years, and some of you guys like Warren and Greg, a couple other you guys who have been talking about this little lather method because I just published the shave on like the 14th and the 15th, and that's the one where I happened upon that one, and I'm running late in my publish cycle, and so you're not going to see this one for I don't know, 6-8 days, something like that. So this was the Midnight Stag aftershave, and this is the modern look of the logo and packaging. And this is the previous version, which I think this is nice too. And I was enjoying the City Slicker separately from the cologne for Midnight Stag a week ago when I was using City Slicker because I hadn't found this aftershave. And I did like to wear the aftershave while I was cleaning up, and then at the end to put on the cologne. Because then the Midnight Stag wouldn't overshadow and the City Slicker, and I could really enjoy it. But I don't need to do that with this because they're the same scent. In fact, I like the cologne so much better than the Splash. It's more nuanced. It's more powerful in the right areas. There are these more mature parts to the scent that you totally get. And I think if more people would smell the cologne instead of just going by the soap or the Splash, then I think more people might like it. It wouldn't be quite as divisive, polarizing. And yeah, I think so. So now I get to enjoy all of it as I'm packing stuff up here. One negative to this method, as you may have noticed in that first pass, when I took the brush at the very beginning and put it on my face, this has a little bit of springiness to it, to where it did flick tiny little soap fragments around. And if you do that enough in your bathroom, then you do end up with a little crowd of soap marks that you do need to clean off. But I just finished stropping the brush. This is what it looks like after that. And I really am feeling the softness here. I am going to pay attention to that when I do my next traditional type lather, because this ultra slick lather that I'm using now, it's likely to make the brush feel better than the other kind of lather with this one. The blade has been dried off. I have marked the card with the 468th dot. And so we will put on another one tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for your conversation. And Greg, we're theorizing together on what's going on with this lather stuff. And it's good to talk to you guys. That, I believe, is it. Everything's all set up and correct. So I will bid you a fair adieu. And this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. I hope there's been something good in this video for you. Take care. Have a good night.